Hi guys, it's me, Mr. Wilson, and I'm here with Chapter 17 of Guardians of the Taiga. Okay, so we only have 4 chapters left. This is very exciting. We're getting down to the end. Okay, so once again, thanks to StacyPlays and Harper Publishing for letting me read it to you. Okay, let's get started. Stacy, Everest, Basil, Addison, and Tucker raced through the forest after Paige and the bats. With no moon out that night, it was completely dark. Stacy rode Basil, who had no trouble navigating through the pitch-black forest with the other wolves. Wink was not pleased when Stacy told him that he had to stay in the cave with his buddy Noah, who had still been snoring loudly when the others set off. Rules were rules, though, and Stacy was happy Noah was getting the rest he needed. They were following the river north towards the falls, when Paige and the bats suddenly stopped. 4 bats frantically flew in front of the face of each wolf's face, halting them in their tracks. A 5th bat flew up to Stacy and nudged her forward. "I think this bat wants to show me something up ahead," Stacy said, skeptical. "Wait here, guys. I'm not going to go too far." Stacy hopped off Basil and only had walked about 10 feet from the group when she saw it. A steel trap on the forest floor with a pile of pine branches on either side of it to camouflage it. The villagers really need the bounty that badly. Huh? Rage bubbled up inside her. Setting a trap was crueler than hunting with guns, which was awful, but at least quick. This way, the injured wolf would meet a much more painful end. It would either bleed to death from its injuries, die from dehydration without water, or its wounds would get infected and sickness would ravage the wolf's body over the course of several agonizing days. The wolf would suffer. That is, if it was even a wolf that set off the trap. Any helpless animal in the taiga could have set off this trap. Stacy reached into her satchel and pulled out an apple. "Stand back," she said to the bat. Or, fly back." The bat flew back a couple of feet. Stacy looked around to make sure her wolves and Paige were still a safe distance away. She gently lobbed the apple into the center of the trap. Crack! The trap snapped shut, and Stacy shuddered, imagining what it would have happened if it would have been an animal instead of an apple. Stacy climbed back on to Basil's back, and everyone set off again. Even though Stacy knew the chances of a hunter being in the forest in the middle of the night were slim, she was eager to reach the safe cover of the forest of perpetual darkness. The pack raced through the most tip of the taiga toward the swamplands. Not counting a few water breaks, Stacy estimated about 3 hours had passed. She realized that they had entered the swampland, but it didn't have its usual rotten egg smell. Even though that smell was gross, it did signal that the land was fertile and growing. Its absence was not a good sign. She strained her eyes to see the ground as it passed by quickly beneath Basil's powerful paws. It was dry and devoid of slimy puddles that were usually everywhere. "I hope we get a good rainstorm soon," Stacy thought. "The forest needs it." Paige and the bats veered to the left, where the swampland gave way to the tree-covered foothills that made up the base of the steep, snow-capped mountain range. Behind them, the sun was rising over the swamp from the east. In front of them, dense trees swallowed every bit of light, the forest of perpetual darkness. Suddenly, Stacy saw a shadow on her left side. It was Everest, with a burst of energy, speeding up to overtake Basil and Paige. Basil, Addison, and Tucker began to slow down, as if they had been signaled to do so. Stacy watched as Everest passed Paige and then quickly spun around, blocking the dog's path while nipping at the air, stopping the bats in their place. Paige tried to find a way around Everest, but the giant wolf blocked her with ease. Unable to keep going, Paige circled back to Stacy and started to whimper. "Why did we stop?" Stacy asked, jumping off Basil's back. She had been expecting this, ever since Addison had marked an X on the map over the area of the forest. Stacy had wondered what it was about this particular section that seemed to frighten her wolves. "Listen," she said. "There's an animal in there that needs our help." Stacy watched as Basil began to pace anxiously back and forth. Addison's amber eyes were wide and intensely staring at Everest, who was looking at Paige as if he was trying to relay a message to the dog without Stacy seeing. Tucker was gently nudging Stacy away from the forest edge. "Is there really some unknown danger in here that I don't know about? Or are they just uneasy about heading into territory we haven't explored before?" Look, guys, Stacy started. I really don't think there's anything in there that we can't handle as a team. We've come so far. We can't give up now. Everest, why don't you lead the way with Paige, and if you sense any danger at all, if a flower is too much to give you the creeps, we'll follow your lead and get out of there. This seemed to satisfy Everest, who nodded to Addison, Basil, and Tucker, and then followed Paige to lead the way into the dark forest. Staying close on her heels, Stacy shivered at the dark task that lay before them. It had been her idea to come on this rescue, but now they were here. The forest ahead seemed incredibly daunting. As if they could read her mind, the 5 bats that were with them flew off into the dawn. Stacy and her pack were on their own now. They stepped under the roof-like covers of the trees. All signs of daybreak quickly vanished. It might as well have been midnight for how dark it was. Stacy lit a torch. Suddenly, a new colony of bats found them, whizzing in circles around Paige. Of course, Stacy thought. These must be the bats who sent our bats to signal. Thank goodness they found us. Otherwise, we'd just be stumbling around in the dark. Paige's ears twitched this way and that way, gathering information. Basil crouched to let Stacy climb on her back, and Addison ran in front of the pack to take the lead. Oddly, Everest fell back and took up position on Stacy's left side. Tucker walked along next to Everest. That's strange. Normally they'd stand guard on either side of me. The wolves exchanged nervous glances. There it is again, Stacy thought. That uneasiness. What's going on? Do they sense some danger to the west? The air grew cold, and Stacy was happy to have Basil's thick, warm fur to hold on to. Just as Stacy suspected, the terrain here was steep and rocky. It was difficult to navigate through the trees. The bats led the way, with Addison jumping over tree roots and scaling rocks. They climbed up into the forest. Stacy knew it was morning, but it was as dark as the darkest night, with no moon and no stars to guide them. Her torch only illuminated a couple of feet in front of them before the light was swallowed up by the trees and the thick vines that hung from their branches and twisted around their trunks. When it burned out, Stacy didn't bother to light another one. Between the bat's echolocation and the wolf's keen night vision, she didn't need to be able to see where she was going. She trusted her animals. Everest and Tucker kept the group in check, keeping them east of where Addison's X was on the map. They got tense if they had to even take even a short detour to avoid the giant rock or fallen tree. After 40 minutes, everyone was exhausted. Stacy's face was covered in scratches from the tree branches that seemed to poke her out of nowhere. They rested again before the final push. Tucker made the rounds, tending to Stacy's scratches and making sure no one had been seriously hurt. All too soon, the bats hurried them onward. The climb was steady, and the dark was unrelenting. It had been nearly 4 hours since they left their cozy cave. How much longer? And then she heard it, a weak and eerie grunt. We're nearly there, Stacy said. I can hear an animal. The sound was what they needed for an energy boost. The newly determined pack drove into the thicket of scrub oak with tangled branches and hanging vines. Stacy pulled out her hatchet and started hacking at the vines in front of them. The branches and vines almost seemed like they were alive and trying to get in their way. Stacy could have sworn she saw one move. She blinked her blurry eyes. Did she see one move? Right in front of her, 4 brown branches had definitely twitched. Stacy realized what she was looking at. They were legs. Stacy heard a snort above her. She looked up and let out a There, its antlers caught in the mess of the vines and branches, was a moose staring straight back at her. End of chapter 17. Will they make this rescue? I don't know. You'll have to come back and join me for chapter 18. Maybe even 19. I don't know. Okay, so we're down to 3 more chapters after this one. And we will see what happens and if they save the moose. Okay. Anywho, hope you guys are having a good day, night, morning, whatever time of day it is when you are watching this video. I hope you made it this long. It's a pretty long video. Anyways, I miss you guys so much, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Love you guys. Bye!